After making the playoffs in 2024, SMU is returning starting quarterback Kevin Jennings and overall going to be a pretty solid team once again in 2025 that is looking to make a repeat run to the playoffs and hopefully make it out of the first round this time, unlike the embarrassing performance that they had against Penn State. Their first game of the season is incredibly easy with East Texas A&M. That will be a win, and then they play Baylor at home. This will be a really close game because we think Baylor is going to be a really good team next year. Sawyer Robertson returning at quarterback, and overall, just a ton of returning production for this team. The defense should be improved, and that was one of their bigger problems last season. I think that Baylor is going to give SMU a run for their money, but we're going to trust Kevin Jennings at home. It's a little bit risky considering his performance against Penn State last year, but I think that he's going to bounce back in a big way this season and lead SMU to a very impressive early win to move to 2-0.
After that Baylor game, they will go on the road to face one of the newly added teams to the FBS in Missouri State. What a way for Missouri State to begin their FBS journey with SMU on their schedule, along with USC as their first game in the FBS. Not gonna stand much of a chance here. Like you said, Kevin Jennings has some playoff experience now. Granted, it wasn't the greatest experience, but playoff experience is still experience regardless. And I think they will learn from the mistakes they had against Penn State and will be able to come back better than ever. It's going to be a little bit difficult considering who they have to replace. They don't really have a starting running back. The likely starter right now is going to be Derek McFall. The wide receiver room is not as good as it can be because they're losing some of their top producers from last year, but have a couple of young guys still on the team. Defensively is really going to be the major concern, but I think SMU is going to be able to have a great defense. So Missouri State should be a fairly easy game. TCU, on the other hand, not going to be as easy of a game. Josh Hoover is back as their starting quarterback. He had very comparable stats to some of the Heisman frontrunners for next season, and he does not get the recognition that he deserves. Granted, he's now going to have to do it with a completely new wide receiver room as his receivers went to the NFL. And he really can put up those same numbers if the transfers they have coming in play at a high level and he continues to play at that high level. But as a team, TCU just needs to hold strong through their first couple games because they have a gauntlet of a schedule with SMU being one of those teams. The playoff experience of Kevin Jennings is going to come into consideration here, but I think on the road, it's going to be very difficult to compete with the Horned Frogs here. I think Josh Hoover is going to lead this TCU team to a early upset of SMU and drop the Mustangs to 3-1 going into their first bye week.
After that, though, they're back at home for two. The first one being Syracuse. Kyle McCord no longer with the team as he went off to the NFL. And I think they're going to see just a slight bit of regression this season. They did bring in Notre Dame transfer Steve Angeli to fill that hole at quarterback, and I think he'll honestly do a pretty solid job. Overall, there's a little bit of roster turnover, but Syracuse will still be a decent team this year. SMU has them at home, though. I think that the Mustangs will get the job done and move to 4-1. And then they also play Stanford. This one should be even easier. The Cardinal really have nothing going for them, in our opinion. Just there really is nothing to look forward to about this team. I think that Stanford's going to be very, very bad. This is also a pretty long road trip, though not as long as a lot of the other ones they have to make in the SEC, as they're only going from California to Texas this time. This one will be a win for SMU as well, pretty easily.
And then the much anticipated rematch between the Mustangs and the Clemson Tigers after Clemson was able to kick a walk-off field goal to steal the conference championship from the Mustangs. I think this is going to be a very intriguing game because there are really two possible outcomes. I think it will either be a very close game that either team can win, or Clemson is going to prove themselves the superior team in every single way and blow SMU out of the water, especially considering that this is a road game for the Mustangs. You have Cade Klubnik back at quarterback for the Tigers. You have Peter Woods and TJ Parker, some of the best defensive players in the country going into next season. Top 10 NFL draft prospects going into 2026. Really, the only thing stopping Clemson right now would be themselves. Dabo Sweeney finally using the transfer portal. This Clemson team seems like it's going to be a team of destiny, one that is hoping to return to the college football playoffs and to championship contention that we saw way back in the Trevor Lawrence days. Clemson is going to get the win here in the rematch, and I think it will be in more dominant fashion than we saw last year.
Yeah, to be honest, Clemson's just a better team than they were last year. I think that they have a chance to contend for a national title this season, and the fact that this is also at home for them, I think SMU is in for a bit of a rude awakening in that matchup. But it gets a lot easier the next week as they're going on the road to face Wake Forest. The Demon Deacons really don't have much going for them as well. The quarterback position is still undecided. And just overall, there's a few good players returning for this team, but they're just not as talented as SMU, and the home field advantage is not going to make a big enough difference. SMU bounces back with a big win over the Demon Deacons. And then they play Miami at home. Carson Beck transferring in out of Georgia, and he's going to be a very good addition to this team, replacing Cam Ward, the number one overall draft pick from last season. Beck will not be as good as Cam Ward. I don't think anybody's really expecting him to, though. Miami's going to be a really good team again next season, and this should be a really close game between two solid quarterbacks. I think there's going to be a lot of offensive fireworks like we typically see in these top ACC matches. Really, that makes it a pretty 50-50 game, but the edge is going to go to the home team here. SMU will beat Miami.
Following that win over Miami, they'll go on the road to face Boston College in year two under Bill O'Brien. Boston College did show some signs of life early last season with Thomas Castellanos. They did compete in the Missouri game and looked like a pretty competitive team, even slipping into the top 25 early on. But then they dealt with some injuries, particularly to Thomas Castellanos, who was injured for a couple of weeks, was able to come back, and then was shut down for the rest of the season with another injury. Still ended up being a solid team, finishing 7-6 and going to a bowl game. I do think Boston College will see some regression with the departure of Thomas Castellanos. It's not going to be dramatic, and I don't think they're going to end up in the bottom of the ACC, but I definitely think they will not be able to stand up to the likes of SMU, who, with the return of Kevin Jennings, will be a difficult team to beat. With his dual threat capability, it's going to be hard for teams to game plan to stop this Mustangs offense, especially with another year of development for Jennings. So the Mustangs will move to 8-2 here going into their final bye week.
After that bye week, playing Louisville, SMU really did have a lot tougher of a schedule this season as they have to play the other top three teams in the conference, in our opinion, and Clemson, Miami, and Louisville. Louisville going to be a solid team this year, bringing in Miller Moss out of the transfer portal from USC. I think he'll be a decent replacement for Tyler Shuff. Probably not quite as good because he hasn't been in college for over half a decade, but he is going to be a solid addition nonetheless. And the Louisville offense will still be pretty good. So I think that this, again, like we've been saying, these ACC games have a lot of fireworks. It's going to be a high scoring game. I don't care what the over is, take it. But as far as who's going to win this game, it really could go either way. We are going to once again lean with the home team and take SMU to win another big game and take down Louisville.
This definitely has upset potential for Louisville, but they will be coming off of the game against Clemson, which could go either way there as well. Whether Clemson comes out on top in that game and Louisville is down in the dumps, I think that will play a factor in them losing that game. Or if Louisville pulls off the upset, I think they will have a reality check against SMU. But to finish off the season, they will go on a road trip to face Cal. This was a game I was initially excited for, but with the departure of so many players through the transfer portal for this Cal team, I have close to zero faith in the Golden Bears. The current drama between the boosters and the football organization is ultimately what drove out some of their top players, including Jaden Ott, who was one of the reasons we were very high on this Cal team initially. They still do have Devin Brown as a likely starting quarterback, but I don't know if he will be enough to push this Cal team towards maybe making a bowl game. This is really just going to be, is the road trip difficult enough late in the season for this Mustangs team? And I don't think it is. I think the Mustangs will cruise through Cal here and finish the year 10-2.
Yeah, another really good season for SMU. Our original way too early projections were 8.35 wins and 3.65 losses, with SMU going at 9-3. We do think they're going to do better than that now, getting to double-digit wins once again this season. And the projection has also gone up to 8.65 wins, 5.6 and 2.4 in the ACC. The floor for SMU is going to be 7-5. You got the two tough non-conference matchups with Baylor and TCU, as well as Clemson, Miami, and Louisville in the ACC. All of those games are losable games. We have SMU winning three of them as of right now. The ceiling for the Mustangs is 11-1 and 8-0 in the ACC. Those two numbers, just to clarify, are independent of each other. We're not saying that the best case scenario is they beat Clemson and have to lose one of the non-conference games. There's a chance they could go 11-1, 7-1 in the ACC, but the best case scenario for the ACC is undefeated. The best case scenario overall is 11-1. So thank you guys for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and we will see you in our next video.